healthy ones. How are you? How are you feeling at this time? So, as you guys know, I'm still in Sri Lanka, still isolated from the general public. And I'm okay actually. I've done a lot of breath work. I've been doing a lot of meditation, being still, dancing, listening to Lizzie Jeff. Yeah, just taking stock of everything that is happening right now. Um, and I wanted to talk about what it is that we're doing in the breath work, right? So I'm not even gonna talk about much of anything else, but just to find out how are you guys doing? What's going on in your body? Hi, Yanga. Yes, I'm okay. I'm also glad that I'm okay. Um, Okay, so let's talk about what happens when we feel fearful, we feel overwhelmed, we feel anxious. You guys already know, I'm hoping that just from being in the Money Magic course, you have seen how memories are stored in the body, right? You've seen from doing the meditations how you go into the body and you're able to unlock memories. Sometimes it's ancestral memories, sometimes it's your memories, sometimes it's a past life. So you already know from almost every meditation in this course that when you go through a trauma, it's also the body is also involved and that the body has a response and the body never lies, right? So most times when we get scared and when we're in a super traumatic situation like what's happening right now, so you say, I love the breath work. Yes, Yanga. I also love the breath work, right? And I can't wait to bring out the womb breath work meditations that I'm working on. Yesterday I was like, oh, what if it's a little too graphic, what I'm trying to record? But you know what? I'm just going to trust it. But anyway, we'll get to the womb stuff when we get there. In fact, I don't want to get into the womb breath work at least, and I won't post it until like 2 weeks from now at least, because I want us to just get to a place where we're congruent in our bodies and really feeling deeply grounded within our bodies, right? So let me start. Let's start by talking about what happens, right, in fearful situations. So you've seen, most of us have seen how in our childhoods we stored certain things, how like maybe our stomachs knotted and they never unknotted, like it knotted from the experience and it never unloosened and it just stayed there, like we stored the trauma, right? So we tend to see that in the work that we do in the meditations. But now we're also, what we're going through right now is actually a traumatic event for humanity. Even if you are not at all sick or no one around you is sick and you have low rates in your family, the truth is that according to the law of divine oneness, the law of divine oneness tells us that we are all one, we are all interconnected, we all come from the same source. So what happens to one happens to another. But we've never ever seen that before, right? We've been able to live this life where we're able to isolate ourselves and say, well, someone's poverty levels or someone's illness is their illness, it doesn't affect me. But now we're in a situation where if your neighbor is sick, you can get sick. If what's happening in one country can easily happen in another country, right? So it's showing us that we are all deeply interconnected. And because of that, that's also why we experience when someone panics, when one country panics and enough people start to panic, the panic starts to spread, right? The fear starts to spread, the anxiety starts to spread, the overwhelm starts to spread. So because we're interconnected, we're all energetically joined, we are all part of source, good and bad, right? It is all one, it's all interconnected. So what's happening is that we're able to sense other people's emotions. It's not just being an empath, it's being human, right? So, but what happens when we start to all feel fearful and start to feel anxious? It can literally make us all lose our minds, right? That's when people get mob behavior. We start to behave irrationally because fear is a driver that goes, like our amygdala kicks into gear and goes, you know what? You need to survive. So you start to do whatever it takes to stay alive and to survive. But in most moments, we already know from seeing how we work with money that if you can just relax and do the inner work, the money stuff starts to sort itself out, right? So this is not this breathwork meditation that I've posted and I've created is not just for the money stuff. It's we already have a lot of the meditations for that, right? It's about just being able to be with your fear right now, right? So often when we get scared, our breath becomes shallow, you know, or even when we're angry, our breath becomes shallow, our body contracts, we freeze up, right? And the fear takes over our entire mind. And so we start losing focus. And with enough time, most of us will start thinking about the future, that, oh my God, it's literally the end of the world. But if we all sat and we really focused, we would see that in this moment right now, we all have breath, right? We are alive. You've got food. Even if you don't have as much as you want to last for another 3 weeks, you don't know. None of us knows how long this is going to last, right? Tomorrow, something different could happen. In another week, it could be a whole different situation. None of us saw this coming in 2019, right? January 2020, none of us saw whatever's happening as something that would happen, right? So we all planned for the future, and now we're being asked to be present with our breath. And there's no other method that I know of that has been proven to get us present faster than just observing the breath. So in Buddhism, the most basic form of meditation is Anapana meditation, right? And it's just a meditation where all you do is you observe your breath, right? You don't manipulate your breath. So breath work is different because we're manipulating the breath. But my whole point here is that if you can focus on your breath, it brings you back to the present. You don't have to add music, you don't have to count, you don't have to have a mantra, just be in your breath. So Gina, oh, okay, it's just saying Gina is watching and Polite is watching. Okay, yeah. So you don't have to be to do anything extra. You just have to focus on your breath, and that is Anapana meditation, and you can do it for days, for hours on end, and you will still go very, very deep in your body, right? The thing is, with Anapana meditation, it's about focusing on the subtle meditations. And for most of us, when we are totally freaking out and totally in deep panic, it becomes really difficult to do Anapana meditation. So this is where breath work comes in, right? So with breath work, it's about actively observing the breath. And what we tend to do is we can start to speed up the breath. So I say in the meditation, you can speed up and do. So sometimes I lose track and I breathe through my mouth. So sometimes I just close my nose when I'm too all over the place. I'll just put my hand over there. I don't know if any coaches even recommend that, but it just helps me refocus, right? So when I feel myself losing focus, I'll just close my nose and get back into it. So just follow the instructions and allow your breath to lead you, right? So I've got you guys working with a simple question, which is, what if I gave myself permission to surrender to the fear, the anxiety, the overwhelm, etc.? We come from a world where we are taught that you don't want to feel the fear, right? It's like, oh my God, fear, it's a really, really bad thing. I need to instantly get into gratitude mode. I need to instantly get into hope or whatever and feel faith. But the truth is, there's no shame in feeling fear. This is a very human emotion. It is normal to feel fear when everything is uncertain. That is the point of fear. We are meant to feel fear when things look scary, when things look hectic. But the truth is, we also don't need to stay in fear, right? But the thing is that when a situation is like this, it's uncertain, it's not something that we can fight like a tiger or something, then our bodies tend to hold on to the fear, right? So with the breath work, we're going into the body and starting to follow our breath and allowing ourselves to feel the fear. And as your subconscious mind starts to feel the fear and go into the body, and you just keep breathing and observing and moving and sounding it out, you start to allow that energy to dissipate and to start moving and leaving your body, right? So people do this in various ways. So people do TRE, which is like allowing your body and your muscles to shake to release the fear out of your body, right? So we're just using breath work and using and allowing our bodies to move. Don't be in your body, don't be in your mind. Again, just like with all the money magic meditations, we come into the body. It's we allow ourselves to drop into the body and to feel into the fear and to surrender to it. Because here's the thing, what you resist persists. So if we are going to resist and run from the fear, it is going to rule us and it is going to persist, right? So any of the emotions that are coming up right now, we need to allow them to come to the surface and to just keep bringing them to the surface so that they can be dealt with. And you'll find that the more, just like anything, when coaches tell you to surrender to the situation, just like when we say surrender, it means that you're just allowing it to be. So what you resist persists. And if you can get yourself to surrender, it's easier to start transmuting and transcending what is, right? So this is the first step to releasing and to allowing ourselves to heal, but we're releasing on a very physical level. So be aware that a lot of things can happen physically. You can start shaking, you can start crying. And then, there's so many other physical reactions more than that. So for me, when it came to sounding out, sometimes I like scream, and you just allow it, right? Release, allow. Sometimes memories will come up, and they may not be your memories, right? So I think I've shared with you guys in the group as I've been developing the womb breath work for the course, that like a lot of the memories that were coming up and thoughts that were coming up were not mine. Like I was having thoughts around like, oh my God, our babies died. Oh my God, these men, we stayed in marriages that never benefited us. All the stuff was coming up. I've never been married. I've never been beaten by a man that I'm in a relationship with. I've never had a baby or a pregnancy scare in this lifetime, right? So I don't know where those thoughts come from, but you just keep going with it because we already know that a lot of our trauma is also ancestral, that it's passed on from generation to generation, right? We've already seen that. We already understand that. So just keep breathing. Don't stop. Just like in all the meditations, we just keep following the instructions. We allow it to be. You observe, you keep breathing. Other things that could happen is you could see various memories, right, that come up from this childhood traumas that you're holding on to. You may have thoughts, deep insights, you may find solutions, but this is not the purpose of that. The purpose is just to breathe and allow the breath to guide you, right? And to just keep asking yourself what it would feel like to surrender. And then at the end of the meditation, I really encourage you guys to just be still for about 30 minutes and do something that you really love, that brings you pleasure, be it, I don't know, drinking tea. I already say that in the meditation. But whatever it is that brings you pleasure. For me, it's usually just journaling and letting that out and then going out afterwards, getting out of my room and then going to eat, being on, watching funny things. That makes me happy, right? Like laughing makes me happy. Sometimes I like listen to music and dance around in my room. whatever it is that you need to do. But I would love it if it could be something like hugging yourself, hugging a pillow, being still, feeling into your body, giving yourself at least 15 to 20 minutes to integrate this whole experience before then going out and doing something else. And of course, you can always come back to the student group and share your experience. And the whole idea of this is that after you do this several times, so just keep doing it as often as you can, at least once a day for at least 7 days, and just start to feel what your body feels like. You can start to feel the opening and the relaxation. And just side effect, it can make you extremely tired, right? It can leave you extremely drained. So as usual, make sure that you get enough sleep, you drink water, and I would recommend also doing more plant-based, less meat stuff, right? We're going deep into the psyche. So let's start with this meditation for the next 2 weeks at least, and let's keep feeling into the body. Let's keep surrendering to the fear. We're not going to run from this. And as you surrender, you will notice that you start to become calmer, right? Because right now we're all over the place. We're worried, oh my God, what will happen in another 5 days? Will they shut down shops? Like literally about 3 weeks ago in Sri Lanka, Mangala was like, oh, I'm sure gas is going to go, electricity. Guys, this is like things are still moving, right? Let's keep going. And as we start to shift, some of us may get even more creative and figure out that maybe it's time to start planting our own food, to start growing our own food. This is another way that this is trying to teach us. So we can start talking about what are the lessons that are coming up. So in the group, you guys have already shared that for some of us, it's highlighting that there are holes in our financial behavior. That whoa, this emergency savings, or what are we calling it now? This easy life savings or something. I can't remember what we decided to call the emergency account, right? But that we don't like that our savings are not enough to cover us for real emergencies. And some of us are probably realizing that, we really need to make the changes that we need to make because life is precious. And we always thought that we needed to wait for another, I don't know, 3, 4 months or another year before we make the changes. And now we're realizing that actually, no, it's not always guaranteed. So we can make the changes that we need to make right now. So we've always lived under this whole belief that, oh, tomorrow the sun will rise in the same way, the world will continue in the same way. And now we're being shown that, nope, changes need to be made. We're also being shown the holes in our entire global system. So it's also time for us to start rethinking, how do we live as a people? Is this sustainable? All these questions are coming to the surface. And we're all being hi Tony, and we're all being called to become still and go deep within, right? So, and that's also a beautiful thing, right? Most of us have never sat down and just been in our bodies and made our bodies a home, because we always thought that eventually we'll have time to deal with the trauma, that in another year I'll get to do the work. And now now life is asking us to say, do the work. If it's you in your house and you only have yourself and you don't have that many distractions anymore, and you're starting to see that different parts of your life are not aligning, life is asking you to do the work. It's asking all of us to go within, to do the work, to realign. And sometimes realignment is a messy, messy process, right? Depending on how far out of alignment we've been. And so there's also minor blessings in the situation. It may not seem like it. It may not feel like it. And how I know it doesn't feel like it. If you had asked me on Saturday when I was told that I can't leave the house, I can't leave the yard, I would have been like, what? Like, there is no blessing here. I didn't see it on Saturday. But guess what? As I've been doing the inner work, going within, doing all the stuff, I've seen the blessing, right? I'm like, okay, what am I being asked to do as me, as a healer? What are some things that I need to work on for me? What are some things that I can do to show up differently in the world? What is life asking of me now? What is life asking of all of us? And I can't know the all of us, but I can start to infer or guess what life is asking of me and what is being required of us when we go still. There's a reason why we're being forced to isolate, why we have a virus that causes us to isolate, right? It's so that we can be with ourselves and be still and go within. And there's no more running, right? It's time to just be with it. And if this is the way that it happens, let's try to make the best of it. And it's a crazy situation right now, right? Flights are being canceled, so many plans are being canceled, but let's do what we can for ourselves. Let's work with the fear, let's work with the anxiety, let's work with the overwhelm. And yeah, I can't wait to hear what you guys having insights on, experiences, etc. Let's do what we can for ourselves, because in the end we can only affect our own actions, but our actions have such a deep ripple effect all over, right? If I'm able to be calm in a family that is freaking out, and I'm able to keep my cool and figure out how to use money creatively, if I'm the only one that's making money in the family, you guys can understand that that can be like life or death situations. It can literally make a world of difference for everyone else in your life. So it's not that this is inconsequential work. It's that if we can get to our peace and be calm and figure out how to hold it together, even our communities, everyone and each of us can do this, it starts to have such a deep ripple effect, right? So let's work on that and see what happens, and keep sending Ho'oponopono, doing the work. Can't wait to hear what experiences and insights you guys have in the group. Namaste.